You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger, joins us every Tuesday. Good opportunity to do it now, especially with Monday's news. Shady, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing great. We appreciate you as always. Okay, let's start with Blaine Bradford picking Ohio State. If I could just start maybe with a reaction on the timing, Shea, because as I understand it, we were all anticipating Blaine would make his decision in the summer. So reaction to him making the announcement now.
That's the most shocking thing. I think when people ask, oh my gosh, were you surprised that he picked Ohio State? No, that was the other main school in the running. It was the timing. He had just locked in official visits for the summer with LSU and Ohio State. And it was going to, we thought, come down to those visits, then a decision. But he was in Columbus this past weekend for an unofficial visit. And the words out of Blaine's mouth were that he just kind of felt the vibe up there, prayed on it, and said, hey, look, I'll go ahead and go public and get on board. So the timing of a Monday morning, 10 a.m., kind of out of nowhere, LSU's on spring break, you don't expect much news, and then that comes down was surprising. But no, not necessarily Ohio State, given that is the competition.
So Shea, Blaine was on an unofficial visit in Columbus. So sometimes that makes sense, right? Guys are on a visit, they get caught up in the emotion of being there, and they pop a commitment. Do you read that that's what this was? It was sort of just that spur-of-the-moment emotional decision, or have we learned that maybe there was something more there?
I wouldn't say spur-of-the-moment emotional. Spur-of-the-moment emotional as much as it's probably included in a myriad of factors that, hey, look, and you get this. You've grown up here. You went to Catholic High. I think this is way more paramount with you high kids. But you grow up here. You're around LSU. You're around Baton Rouge your whole life. And then you go to another college town that you really like and were really interested in the program. And certainly they have a pretty nice track record at DB, specifically safety, here in recent years. And I guess that pitch, in my opinion, opens the door for them. And let's be real, LSU is joined by Ohio State and Bama and Georgia. And these are the teams that every cycle are sitting right there in the top five. So this is elite competition, NIL era or not. I just think that a part of it, Matt, to get to what you're saying, I think is he got out of Baton Rouge for a weekend. He's been there before, but to really kind of get back, soak it in, get around some players and coaches and some of the other commits they have, I think that he thought, hey, look, if I'm going to do this, I might as well trust my gut, do it now, and there's 10 months till signing day. So even in his mind, if he says, hey, look, I don't know if this is ultimately exactly what I'm going to do, he's got a ton of time to shift things up.
Sure. That's the next sort of giant question, right, is can LSU flip him? So what does the process look like for LSU starting now, Shea, all the way through December?
Excuse me, Matt, I don't think, or everybody listening, I don't think that it has to change much. And maybe you would say, well, it wasn't enough to get him. I don't know. Maybe it is in the long run. Go back, and you know this, but for the viewers, started at Catholic as a true freshman. He played a game of football for the Bears maybe before LSU offered, and that's the first college offer he ever tweeted about. He's a junior in high school, but that was 2.5 years ago. Ohio State offered him 9 months ago. This is the school that's right down the block. This is the school that has really prioritized him, again, since he was in ninth grade. We saw what the approach was with last year's safety cycle going into this one, where they knew they had Aiden Hall, who's a similar kind of big-bodied safety to Blaine, and then they went out and got a coverage safety in Dylan Purter just a week ago, a 4-star out of Alabama. So that final piece was Blaine, and right now he's on board with the Buckeyes. But again, long time till signing day, and this isn't specific to just Blaine. Now, being a Baton Rouge kid, I think works both ways. You could say you get into campus anytime you want, or you could counter it with the argument that maybe he does want to get away. But I think just as being a kid, time, if LSU's playing well, and it's all over the news, the radio, the paper, at school, everyone's talking about it. And let's be real, LSU has the number one recruiting class right now. Ohio State, I think, jumped to 6 or something. They're going to finish up there, but that's going to be a storyline if LSU maintains this kind of heater they've been on of if they're playing well on the field, they've got a top class. I wouldn't call it pressure, but all of those things, and then toss in not just being around family and then being able to go to your games, but his brother is on the team. He will be at games this year to watch his brothers. So I think there's a lot that goes into this that even Buckeye fans would say, much like LSU fans would, if they got a kid from Columbus committed, that this is awesome, but a long way to go until signing day.
That was going to be my next follow-up there, was going to be about Jacob, who's on campus. I think a lot of people would naturally, Shea, assume that they would want to play together, like the 3 Weeks brothers are currently. Is that something, as best as you know, that's been part of both Jacob and Blaine's recruitment, is the possibility of them playing together?
I mean, it's certainly an aspect that LSU is the only one that can pitch and has pitched, here in recent months, given that Blaine flipped his commitment and signed with LSU in December. So at least since then, if not before then, when they had offered Jacob a scholarship. So you're thinking at least 6 months of time where they've said, hey, look, y'all two will have this opportunity to play together. And that still exists for another 10 months. Now, obviously, Jacob hasn't stepped foot on campus for the practice, game and all that yet, but he'll be there in the fall. He'll be on the team, and I do think that's a storyline to monitor because there was never package deal talk, but they're close brothers. They played together at Catholic. It's not as if they're trying to go to separate schools.
The other thing that everyone, of course, is going to ask about, Shea, is NIL, rev share. To the best of your knowledge, if you know anything, how much does that factor in here?
I don't think that factored into this decision at all. I think that LSU and Ohio State can present. If you're sitting down and having very serious NIL discussions right now, which, look, you present all of those things, but when it comes crunch time, the discussions become very real. We saw it with Pickett and Underwood and all of these others where it was LSU's in the lead, and here comes reports of Oregon County and all of that. This is before officials even happened. I think this is just one of those things where both schools had made pitches over a period of time, and he was up there and enjoyed it once again, and has always said that Ohio State was the team that kind of perhaps was out front if there was, if he were to leave the state. And I think it's way more that than anything in NIL at this stage.
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Make sure you get him on Twitter at Shea Dixon. So you mentioned the timeline with being on spring break. So no visits right now. It's quiet right now around LSU with recruiting?
Well, I mean, as quiet as Monday was, and then as quiet as having your number one class can be, I guess. But
Good
sure,
point.
A little bit of downtime as they coaches got time off, players obviously get their time off, and then they'll regroup. What is it, this weekend, next week? So, you got about a 4 or 5 day break here after, really coming out of February, an entire month where they were seemingly hosting guys every day. So, the recruiting news outside of random Monday 10 a.m. commits nobody expected is kind of quiet for right now until everything kind of kicks back into gear this weekend.
All right, well, I got a minute then. Let's talk a little bit of basketball, something you and I don't get to do a ton of, but the Tigers did. How about that? The Tigers did pop a couple of transfer portal commitments on Monday. Okay, how did this come about?
Well, I think it goes back to what was talked about. I mean, I wrote about this. You talked about it in February, early February, that the whole Matt McMahon, are they going to fire Matt McMahon? And anyone who would read his buyout would see, okay, that's a lot of money to fire someone and then clean out a staff, which is $10+ million. Oh, and then go hire an entire new staff, all while trying to retain players and get players. It seems way kind of more advantageous for you that you think Matt McMahon's a good coach. It's why you hired him, right? I mean, he was very, very good at Murray State, winning 30-something games a year. But they don't have the pieces, and the reality was that the budget, and you've talked about this plenty, but the NIL budget that the SEC, the most stacked basketball conference there was, and the deepest it's probably ever been as a conference, not dead last, second to last. South Carolina was dead last. that's exactly how they finished in the standings. LSU was second to last. South Carolina was last. Every other team in the SEC made the tournament. It's not that hard to kind of draw the lines there and connect dots and say, got it, the two teams who didn't make the tournament were the two teams that had the least amount of NIL kind of budget to spend or pool to work with. So they were going to go in and say, hey, look, we'll invest in McMahon in this program by kind of backing NIL more. And you come out the gates on Monday morning by landing a guy out of state, a rim protector, who started every game for him this past season. In Mike Loco, 6'10", 24 blocks on the year. So you wanted that type of piece. Certainly, we knew that Matt McMahon did. They got it. But the big boom, if you will, and certainly the big moment where LSU fans can say, okay, well, what you guys were saying about the approach Woodward would have and this, the athletic department would have, and what Matt McMahon was being told and would have matched up to what was being reported, because they went out and they got UNLV's transfer guard, Dedan Thomas, who his dad had played at UNLV, stayed home to play at UNLV. He's been going off at UNLV, and then he hits the portal, and he lands at LSU. And it's being reported right now that Pete Nakos wrote an article for On3 today about this, that the top guys, the top scorers, who he's one of them, he's a top 10 overall player in the portal, and he is a top 3 point guard in the portal as well, are going for north of $2 million in terms of what these NIL packages could look like. Now, he didn't report that was the exact number for Dedan Thomas, but I can say, and again, this has been reported, you said it, he probably got more in an NIL package than LSU was able to work with the entire roster last year in the offseason. And you've already retained Jalen Reed, which was one of the biggest pieces you wanted to keep coming off his injury. And we'll see what happens with guys like Robert Miller. But you come out of the gates like that, and then they've got guys on campus today who were top 15 scorers out of the Coastal playing at Elon. You don't just land a player, certainly not like Dedan Thomas, without a good recruiting pitch coupled with some NIL backing. And they pulled it off. And, Matt, I will say that I now believe that they very much have more NIL backing than they did a year ago, because I've never had in the history of covering men's basketball at LSU my entire mentions on Twitter just dominated by Kentucky fans, furious at Mark Pope and the staff in Lexington, because I can give you these NIL numbers. I'll tell you the top 10 portal kid, but I think maybe the biggest kind of way for me to tell the common fan is that LSU just beat out Kentucky and Florida for this player, and Florida's in the Final Four. Kentucky had already publicly said they were going to give Mark Pope even more money, and they were spending north of $10 million a year ago, reportedly, in NIL budget. And here comes LSU beating them out for someone that they very much wanted up in Lexington. So rare day, I guess 24 hours, when the Kentucky fans are upset and then the LSU fans mentions with men's basketball. Doesn't happen often.
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Hopefully more good news coming for the basketball squad as well. By the way, Shea, one part of that, super stealth, man. There was no report of LSU in the mix for Thomas. It was Kentucky, it was Florida, and then LSU swooped in and got that deal done. Very impressive how they were able to get that across the finish line.
Even more so, I saw that. I was reading Matthew Bruni, who covers it all the basketball stuff for me at the Bengal Tiger, for us, the Bengal Tiger. And when he wrote the piece, I was glancing over stats, and then it said, he made a secret visit last week. I was like, whoa, okay, all right. The staff is playing very low-key on this one, because, as you mentioned, not even really a mention of him out there, let alone that he was on campus and visiting with staff.
Shea, we appreciate it as always, man. Have a great rest of your week. We'll do it again next week.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.